The Speicherstadt is an auction game from one of my absolute favorite game designers, Stefan Feld. It's based on the Speicherstadt, which is a huge warehouse district in Hamburg. So in it, you're playing the head of a large trading house, and your goal is to have the most successful business through the buying and selling of goods with careful bidding and taking on contracts. So in the box, you're going to get 54 trade cards, and they have four classifications. They are winter, spring, summer, autumn, and you have one fire card that you're going to end with. So these are separated by season, shuffled, and stacked in one pile, starting with the fire card, then autumn, summer, spring, and winter. You have 45 goods cubes, and these are randomly placed on ships. They can be collected, stored, and used to fill out contracts from customers. In some instances, good cubes can be exchanged for coins as well. You're going to have 20 workers, and each player is going to select and take 4 of one color. 3 will be used as your bidding markers, and 1 is going to be keeping score on the side of the board. You have 25 coins, and each player is going to start the game with 5 coins. And you're mainly going to use your coins to pay for your winning bids. You have one game board, and this is a nice sized, classy looking board with a subdued color scheme. So the warehouse itself not only looks good, it serves a purpose in the gameplay. The green tracks on the side are where you're going to place your meeples when you're declaring a bid. And then it finishes out with 5 market hall cards, and these are just kind of like starting cards that dealt out to each player at the beginning of the game. Then you have a metal coin, and this is going to indicate the starting player. So to play, you have to follow 5 steps or 5 phases, and the starting player is going to act, and then everybody else is going to take their turn in clockwise order. So step 1 is supply, and that's from the top of the deck. You take as many cards as you need to fill out the card slots according to how many players you have. And the board has icons letting you know how many cards you need to place, so it's pretty handy. Step 2 is demand. And starting with the first player, or starting player, you place 1 worker on the lowest available slot above a card you'd like to bid on. If another player already has a bid there, you can place your worker on the slot right above them. So you could only play 1 worker per turn and pass. And you're just going to pass around the table 1 worker at a time until everybody has placed all 3 of their workers. So step 3 is purchase. And the cost of the card is equal to how many workers occupy the green track above it. So the player on the lowest space gets to decide whether they want to bid or pass first. So if they bid, they must count how many workers are above their character, and pay that amount of coins. And if they do that, that space is resolved and no further action is taken there. But if they decide to pass, they're going to remove their worker from the track, and the player with the second lowest worker may now decide if they want to bid or pass. So step 4 is loading. And this only really happens when you purchase a ship with good cubes on it. And all you do is take your cubes and decide what to do with them. So you can fill out contracts, store them, sell them, whatever options you have in your particular tableau. So step 5 is income. And each player receives 1 coin. But if you were unable to purchase a card in a round, you're going to get 2 coins instead. So there are a couple of cards that give you more coins in this step, but usually it's going to be 1 coin per player. Now, what the fire cards do is when one of these is drawn, you immediately stop the game and you count to see how many firemen each player has, and they're going to get points. If they have the most. It kind of works like if you know how the Pharaoh tile works in Ra, or the military cards work in Seven Wonders. And the game's going to end when the final fire card is used, and the player with the most points at the end is the winner. So the most interesting part of the game for me is the type of cards you bid for. So there are cards you can collect sets of to score points. There are cards you can lets you sell good cubes for money. Cards that are just straight up worth points, and some cards that give the owner an exclusive way to score points, that's just for them. And there's quite a bit more. So one of my favorite characteristics about a Stefan Feld game is the ability to play creatively with his elegant and non-limiting rules. So for example, in the loading phase, you're pretty much free to move your freshly purchased goods around. You can sell them, store them, pretty much do whatever you want with them, which I really enjoy. So ships are very important to the game, and with the good cubes randomly pulled from a bag during the supply step, they're always an unknown. So you may see a ship with goods that you need badly, or you may see ships with goods you know one of your opponents really needs, and you'll have to decide what you want to do on the fly. So should you bid on that, on the one you need, or bid on the one that you just can't let that other person have? It's always a tough decision, and I really enjoy the type of control you have over what type of points generating system you have in your tableau. The Spikersat is one of my favorite games of all time. The bidding system is absolutely brilliant because it lets you use your brain to win bids, not just your coins. So placing your markers is so much fun, and it involves careful consideration. You can't just let somebody run free, buying up cheap cards and making your opponents sweat, not knowing if you really intend on buying a card or if you're just bluffing them and jacking up the price, trying to get them to abandon a bid. And it's really intense, and it can really test your poker face. So everyone I have introduced to the game has really enjoyed it. Most of the time they play it at least twice. First time they learn how to play, and a second one, they want to try a different strategy. So it kind of feels like mixing an auction game with some of the abilities of a card game like Dominion. And the Spikersat is a criminally underappreciated game from one of my absolute favorite game designers. Now, I recommend you do yourself a favor and at least try it out, even if you think you've had your fill of auction games. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised in what Stefan Feld has done with the genre.